Hey, this is Notser, and this is the user replay of the week. The skipper is in the Tier 9 British cruiser Neptune on the map Land of Fire. If you have a replay you would like to submit, please submit it to notserreplay@gmail.com. Please have the replay file, in-score screenshots, 1 to 2 sentence summary, and please include the ship name in the title of the email. I really appreciate all the support. This particular replay was chosen because it's the Neptune. I don't have the Neptune on the channel yet. I'm still working my way up. I'm at the Fiji, and it's very impressive in the Neptune. It makes me want to have the Neptune right now, and that's the best kind of replay. So, the skipper is headed towards Sea Point, and he's got a friend in a Baltimore, also headed there. They're basically the same thing. They're Tier 9 cruisers. Their goal is simple: take out destroyers, try and do damage on battleships as best as you can, and of course, don't fall prey to broadside. Don't make the mistake of showing too much side for that AP, or you're just gonna be done very quickly. The Neptune could equip radar. Of course he doesn't, because he's not suicidal. Anyone who's tried to play the British cruiser line without smoke is gonna find that, hey, I don't get to live that long. Maybe this is bad. The Baltimore, on the other hand, absolutely has radar. He should, at least. I can't even fathom not having radar in my U.S. cruisers. The aircraft is just not as good. So, the skipper engages an enemy destroyer, and the destroyer is trying to fire. He's a Tier 7. He could do pretty good work. Unfortunately, he's caught out. He should use the smoke, or he should bail. He probably feels like smoke is irrelevant when a Baltimore is there with radar, and I would agree. There's also an enemy Shorse who is in a waifu's ship or something like that. Weird name. Either way, the Neptune has great rate of fire, and you can clearly see that the skipper is quick to engage, disengage, pay attention to his surroundings. It's a little bit disorienting if you're not trying to think in the same mindset. Okay, I already know I've killed the target. We need to move on to the next target. He sends his torpedo systems against the Shorse, and he's presented with a broadside Soviet cruiser, and we know how this is going to work out. Unfortunately, the friendly Baltimore gets a little bit too close to the enemy, and the Shorse is able to kill the Baltimore. The skipper is able to kill the Shorse with a ton of citadels. Now, he pops his smoke, and he's sitting in the capture point. He recognized on the mini-map that there was another enemy in the area, an enemy cruiser. What could that cruiser be doing? Is he hiding in the smoke? Did he move forward? What's going on? He does have hydro. It doesn't have that good of a range. It's probably, 4 to 5 kilometers at best. Not even enough range to peer through the entire capture point. So there is a threat that perhaps that cruiser has moved forward and could potentially be sending torpedoes. But we know so far nothing is in the capture radius, so it seems to be going pretty good. And if you look, the skipper is hoping that someone will scout for him. Perhaps the battleships and the friendly cruisers can send out their aircraft. That is a possibility, but it's probably not a good solution to the problem. And he's being very cautious. He's not leaving the protection of the smoke. He's got about 15 seconds left before the smoke will dissipate. The enemy smoke is, of course, from the destroyer, and the destroyer is dead. It died long ago, so the smoke should be disappearing, and he's either typing and, oh, yes, the cruiser that was seen on the minimap is now headed away from Sea Point. And let's count how many enemies are on the minimap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 enemies. There is a total of 10, of course. So 3 unaccounted for. Could there be an enemy over here? Could it be a destroyer? We have not seen the destroyer as of yet, unless, of course, the destroyer is the one by B Point right now. I think that's honestly the destroyer. So there's really no threat over here, skipper. And perhaps he sees that and he's going to move to support the friendly battleships as they attempt to move to B Point, where 1, 2, 3, 4 enemy ships are located. The enemy aircraft carrier is actually detected, which is interesting. He finally hits the Fiji, and he does 3,000. The AP's significant. I really can't express this enough. Yes, you only have AP, and yes, it's terrible when the target is bow on, or even stern on. But there's always a position on the enemy ship that you could potentially get damage on, and all that Baltimore. He's so low. Skipper's like, kill him. Probably not going to die, Skipper. Unless the friendly, who is suicidal over in the south side of A, gets a shot on him. It's perhaps worth it for him to ignore everything he's going to die and just kill the Baltimore, if possible. Probably unlikely. There are times in a lot of the games where I get kills on targets that I probably didn't deserve, and that's just sheer will. It is something that you have to look for, recognize that, hey, through your experience, it's like, I'm probably going to die soon. I should just take my losses and either ram the target, and I have not recognized this enough, and I have tried to say, you know what? It's a good one-to-one trade. The enemy can't afford to lose a player this skilled or this healthy, and I go for it. Same sort of concept. So, the Skipper, he's spreading the love around. He's doing a little bit of damage to everyone. The Lexington is not in a good position. He's probably going to take a lot of damage. The Lexington is a tier 8 aircraft carrier for the American line. It's really, really big. And I'm really big. The enemy Fiji finally falls. The Lexington is still there. It appears that the Skipper, his intent is not to engage the target in the southern side of the map, but to try and engage targets on the western side of the map. And I can respect that, although he could potentially try to just fire on the Lexington just because he was being detected by aircraft, he was being detected by many different things. And only now, after the Bismarck is able to fire on him, of course he misses, is he off the radar. So he didn't really gain that much from holding his fire for, what, 20 seconds? 30 seconds? I would have probably done the same thing because I have a strategy in mind. I want to capture B. This is a good tactical decision. The game is very close. The enemy does have an advantage. You need to try and get back some advantage, and capturing B point is a good thing to do. Enemy Ibuki, enemy Gneisenau is moving on the western flank. It appears they're trying to chase down a friendly battleship in the north, and he gets a 5,000 Citadel on the Ibuki. Not a Citadel, but 5,000 broadside, and then only 500 because just a touch hit it. He's edging just a little bit too much out of his smoke, and yes, he is detected now. This is not good. Really would prefer to capture the point before you risk showing a civilian. Of course, he backs back up. He sent his torpedoes, hoping to hit. At, I believe, tier 7 or tier 8, you get 10-kilometer range torpedoes, and that holds true all the way to tier 10. You need to make use of this. You lack HE. Torpedoes can rebalance. You can have single fire or narrow spread. That's really the only two options. And you need to do that to try and force players to maybe show their side, maneuver more than they want to. And he gets a Citadel nice on the Ibuki. It looks like he's going to hit 1, 2, 3 torpedoes maybe on the enemy battleship, which is just convenient, of course. Causes a flood. And is he going to actually allow the flood to go? I don't believe the flood is hitting him. I think he's using a heal, of course. And the enemy Ibuki does die to the friendly Tirpitz, who had angle to fire on him. The friendly Tirpitz is moving forward rapidly, and he's probably going to take torpedoes. Can he avoid these torpedoes? He does avoid them. Good, good, good. Looks like the Skipper wants to use this single launch, and I would love a destroyer system that has single launch. And maybe the Brits are going to have it. Maybe the Germans. I'll talk more about the Germans tomorrow on Untitled, but today we are looking at the Neptune, and just he's already up to 100,000 points of damage. Doesn't look like his torpedoes are going to hit the enemy Gneisenau. He's going to be out of the side of the torpedoes, but he can use a little bit of damage on a broadside battleship. The AP works just fine. The friendly Tirpitz is able to take out the Gneisenau, and I don't think the Gneisenau could get more torpedoes in the water. It appears that the Skipper has set the Mogami as the target for his torpedoes, even though it doesn't show up in the replay. And his intent is to try and send his torpedoes against the Mogami as he comes around the corner. And he sent both sets. Interesting. I don't know if that is the right choice against a target like the Mogami, but the Mogami showed a perfect broadside. Ooh, he gets a huge amount of damage on. And unfortunately, the target dies because a friendly wanted to assist. So the skipper does 99% of the damage. Friendly does 1%. The torpedoes are now worthless, and honestly, they were not going to hit the target. I wish I could have seen the indicator that he was looking at to know if he was leading, because whenever a target is turning, they are inherently slower than they would normally go, and if they're coming out of a turn, they're going to speed up. You need to predict that. Enemy Fletcher is in the area. Thankfully, the aircraft are detecting it, so he can stay in the smoke without being detected. He's sort of in between 3 enemies, and he's going to send his torpedoes in a narrow spread against the Fletcher. It could hit, it could not hit. It doesn't really harm anyone by sending. His AP is probably going to do the most damage in this scenario. It's a 7.5 kilometer range destroyer. The AP rate of fire is extremely high, although he did completely miss that shot. He's moving at full speed, the skipper. You got to give good lead to this guy. There we go, 3,600. 2 more of those and he's dead. He senses torpedoes, which are detected by the friendly aircraft. I think he senses the torpedoes that the skipper sent out. He's trying to pop his smoke. I don't know why he waited so long to pop his smoke. Maybe it was on cooldown. And the skipper gets fortunate that the shot hit him as he was trying to hide in his smoke. He probably would have disappeared, and he probably would have stayed hidden for 2 minutes? A minute? The torpedoes, of course, irrelevant on both sides. Enemy battleships are on the western flank, and they're rocking that weird blue and white striped camo. The enemy Nagato appears to be almost stationary, and the skipper leads him a little bit, expecting, notice the smokestack, it looks like he wants to move forward. And 3,000's not bad. You basically have to go for the superstructure at this range. It's going to dive down into the ship. He earns high caliber. Don't pull a Notser! The skipper, it would be very bad, even though the Nagato doesn't appear to be looking at him. I don't know what he sees. I would definitely go after the target that's only 11 kilometers in. He nudges the island. Yep, he's got HE loaded. Why does he have HE loaded? Maybe he was going after a battleship. He misses the Neptune. He probably expected him to actually stop. The enemy Bismarck fires his main guns. He has AP loaded. And the skipper expects this guy. Why isn't he moving? He's moving very little. He expected him to move forward quickly, move back quickly. He's not really moving anywhere. This is a very odd battleship play. You don't want to stay this stationary. So finally the skipper's like, you know what? Just fire at the massive superstructure. He's gotta move. I don't have to predict his movement. This guy is just playing it differently than others. I would also have agreed, hey, expect him to move forward or back. But clearly he's not doing it. So if the player wants to play wrong, allow him to play wrong. And he's deciding to back up slowly into an island. Well, the nice thing about the British cruiser line is that they can sort of fire over these islands. They're not too tall that it's completely impossible. It would be completely impossible if you were a Soviet cruiser, for instance, because it's like a straight shot. But the Americans and the British, to a degree, can indeed fire when you're close to an island. And he gets sort of lucky there. He showed a perfect broadside to the Bismarck. It seems to overpin or do almost no damage. Friendly aircraft carrier tries to bomb the Nagato out of the match. Doesn't succeed. It looks like he put out the fire. And the skipper just goes around and destroys the enemy battleship. Now, the Bismarck is in the area. He sent his torpedoes. Not going to hit the Bismarck. The secondaries are, of course, going off. He could sit in smoke and fire at the enemy Bismarck. But it doesn't appear that that's what he wants to do. And he takes a huge citadel from the Bismarck because of that. This is very dangerous. This feels like a Notser play. You have a great game, and you're willing to take unnecessary damage. Oh! for a little bit of a cheeky torpedo attack, might I say, at the end of the match. The torpedoes are not going to hit him. Maybe he can get a detonation. Not going to happen, of course. But we can only hope. Hopefully he doesn't die to secondaries and the game ends without the kill on the Bismarck. But Confederate, Dreadnought, high caliber, 4 kills, over 200,000 points of damage done. A little bit of everything. 2 base captures, secondaries, torpedoes, AA, citadels, defense. He was all over this game, and good job, the skipper. As far as base XP is concerned, he earned 3,169. Just fabulous. Just a great game, the skipper. The closest person is about 1,200 away, give or take. That's pretty ridiculous how much the skipper helped his team win the game, and it's great to see. I'm glad to see the British cruisers having success when you know how to play them. This is something that I need to improve at, and it's great to see replays that showcase it so well. As far as damage is concerned, of course, AP, 175,000 points of damage with AP alone, 24 in torpedoes, not that impressive, and a little bit of secondaries, a little bit of flooding, a little bit of fires, but main battery, almost 200,000 by itself. That's impressive. He didn't really take a lot of damage or attention. Most of the game was played about as well as you need to play the British cruisers in order to survive. I would argue that if it wasn't for that suicidal attack on the Bismarck, he would probably end the game at 80% life, maybe even higher. I can't really blame him though. I always try and get the kill. I don't care if I die. It's about the kill. And that effort was definitely evident at the end. The cost of running the ship, it's fairly expensive, I would say. That's pretty fair. Without premium, he would have made, but he wouldn't cover that much, honestly. He absolutely destroyed the game, and he was still very close, so it is expensive to be high tier without premium camo or anything like that, but the Neptune is a great ship in a great commander's hands. Thank you, the skipper. I really appreciate checking this out. Thank you for sharing it. I hope everyone enjoyed seeing the Neptune be so dominant and play the game pretty correct. Try and take capture points, kill enemies that try and assault. Don't overextend until the very end when you're trying to get that Kraken unleashed. I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you next time.